The wedding hall glowed with golden light, laughter, and the scent of roses. My daughter Emily was radiant in her white dress, her new husband Michael beaming at her side. The air was thick with celebration, but beneath it all, I felt a tension I couldn't shake. Maybe it was the presence of her ex-husband, Ryan, lurking at the edge of every conversation, his eyes cold and calculating. If you enjoy powerful stories like this, don't forget to subscribe for more. Let me introduce you to everyone who mattered that day, because every face in that room would play a part in what happened next. Emily, my daughter. She was always the light of my life. Strong-willed, clever and kind, she'd survived a stormy marriage to Ryan and come out stronger. Today she was marrying Michael, a gentle soul who adored her. I'd never seen her so happy. Michael, the groom, a quiet man with a steady job and a big heart. He'd been patient with Emily, helping her heal from the scars Ryan left behind. He was the kind of man I'd always hoped my daughter would find. Ryan, the ex-husband. Tall, athletic, with a smile that never reached his eyes. He'd charmed our family at first, but the mask slipped soon after the wedding. He was controlling, jealous, and cruel. When Emily finally left him, he made sure the divorce was messy. I'd hoped never to see him again, but he'd shown up today, uninvited, claiming he wanted closure. Samantha, Ryan's new wife. She was younger than Emily, with nervous eyes and a forced smile. She clung to Ryan's arm, laughing too loudly at his jokes, flinching at his touch. I saw myself in her, a parent desperate to protect their child from a mistake. My wife, Linda, my anchor. She'd stood by me through every storm, her wisdom and warmth holding our family together. She watched everything, missing nothing. Myself, Richard, a father, a husband, a man who'd worked his. I pushed myself up, refusing Ryan's outstretched hand. "I'm fine," I said, forcing a smile. "Let's not ruin Emily's day." But inside, something snapped. I'd spent my life swallowing my pride, keeping the peace. Not today. Not anymore. As I dusted myself off, Samantha stared at me, her face pale. She whispered, "Sir, is that you?" Ryan's face turned white. He staggered back, his hand clutching his chest. Suddenly, he collapsed, blood pouring from a wound on his head. The room erupted in chaos. Guests screamed, chairs toppled, and someone called for an ambulance. No one knew why Ryan had done it. No one knew what had really happened, but the truth was about to shock everyone. The wedding hall was chaos. Guests rushed to Ryan's side, some screaming, others frozen in shock. Blood pooled beneath his head, staining the white dance floor. Samantha knelt beside him, her hands shaking as she tried to stop the bleeding. Emily clung to Michael, her face buried in his chest, sobbing. Linda gripped my arm, her voice trembling. "Richard, are you all right?" I nodded, but my mind was spinning. The humiliation of the fall was nothing compared to the horror of what had just happened. I looked at Samantha, who was staring at me with wide, terrified eyes. "Sir, is that you?" she'd whispered. What did she mean? The paramedics arrived within minutes, pushing through the crowd. They worked quickly, lifting Ryan onto a stretcher, checking his pulse, shining a light into his eyes. One of them glanced at me. "Did anyone see what happened?" A dozen voices answered at once. "He just collapsed." "He was fine a minute ago. He pulled out Richard's chair, then he just fell." I watched as they wheeled Ryan away, his face ashen, his body limp. The laughter was gone now, replaced by a heavy, suffocating silence. As the ambulance doors slammed shut, Samantha turned to me, her face pale. "I need to talk to you. Alone." Linda stepped between us, her eyes fierce. "Not now. My husband needs to rest." But Samantha wouldn't be deterred. "Please. It's important." We found a quiet corner in the hallway, away from the shocked guests and the whispers. Samantha's hands trembled as she spoke. "I know who you are. I know what you did for Emily. Ryan told me everything about the divorce, about how you protected her. He hated you for it." I frowned. "Why did you ask if it was me?" She looked down, her voice barely a whisper. "Because Ryan was terrified of you. He said you'd ruin him if he ever hurt Emily again. He said you had secrets, evidence that could destroy him." I stared at her, the pieces clicking into place. He was right. Samantha's eyes filled with tears. He was cruel to me too. I wanted to leave, but he threatened to ruin my life. "I'm sorry for what he did to you tonight. I'm sorry for everything." I put a hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to be afraid anymore." Just then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You think you've won, but you have no idea what's coming." I showed Samantha the message. She paled. "That's Ryan's friend, Mark. He's dangerous. He'll do anything to protect Ryan's secrets." I returned to the reception, my mind racing. The police had arrived, questioning guests, taking statements. I told them what happened. How Ryan had pulled out my chair, how he'd collapsed moments later. They nodded, jotting down notes, their faces unreadable. Emily found me, her eyes red from crying. "Dad, what's happening? Why did Ryan do that?" I hugged her, holding her close. "I don't know, sweetheart, but I promise I'll protect you, no matter what." Linda joined us, her voice low. "We should go home. This night is over." As we left the hall, I glanced back at the woman in the blue dress. She was watching me, her eyes sharp, a small smile on her lips. I felt a chill run down my spine. That night, as I lay in bed, my phone buzzed again. Another message. "You're next." I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. The game wasn't over. It was just beginning. Sleep was impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ryan's face. First sneering as I fell, then white with terror as he collapsed. I replayed Samantha's words, the text messages, the look from the woman in the blue dress. Something was wrong, something deeper than a cruel prank or a jealous ex. The next morning, the phone rang before sunrise. It was Michael, Emily's new husband. His voice was tight. "Richard, the police want to talk to you again. They're saying Ryan's collapse wasn't an accident. They found something in his system." My blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" "They think he was poisoned, and they want to know if you had anything to do with it." I sat on the edge of the bed, my mind spinning. Poison? I'd barely touched my food, let alone Ryan's. But I knew how this would look, how Ryan's friends would twist the story, how the guests would remember the fall, the laughter, the humiliation. Linda came in, worry etched on her face. "What is it?" I told her everything. She squeezed my hand. "We'll get through this. You did nothing wrong." But I wasn't so sure. Not anymore. The doorbell rang. 2 detectives stood on the porch, their faces grim. "Mr. Richard, we need you to come with us." We have some questions about last night." At the station, the questions came fast and sharp. "Where were you sitting? Did you see anyone near Ryan's drink? Did you have any contact with him before he collapsed?" I answered honestly, but I could see the suspicion in their eyes. They showed me security footage. Ryan at the bar, laughing with friends, then slipping something into his own drink. My heart pounded. Was he trying to frame me, or was someone else setting him up? The detectives let me go, but not before warning me to stay in town. "Don't leave. We may have more questions." I walked out into the morning light, my mind racing. Someone wanted to ruin me. Someone wanted revenge. As I got into my car, the woman in the blue dress appeared beside me. She handed me a folded note. "You're not safe. Trust no one. Meet me at the old pier tonight. Come alone." Before I could respond, she vanished into the crowd. I spent the day on edge, jumping at every sound, every phone call. Emily called, her voice trembling. "Dad, I'm scared. People are saying terrible things about you. Ryan's friends are telling everyone you hated him, that you wanted him dead." I tried to reassure her, but I could hear the doubt in her voice. "Just stay close to Michael. Don't talk to anyone about last night. I'll handle this." Linda watched me, her eyes full of questions. "Who was that woman? Why does she want to meet you?" I shook my head. "I don't know, but I have to find out." That night I drove to the old pier, the wind whipping off the water, the sky heavy with clouds. The woman in the blue dress was waiting, her face hidden in shadow. She spoke without turning. "You're in danger, Richard. Ryan was involved in things you don't know about. He made enemies, powerful ones." I stepped closer. "Who are you?" She turned, her eyes fierce. "My name is Julia. I was Ryan's lawyer, and I know he was planning something at the wedding, something that would destroy you and Emily both." Julia's words echoed in the night air. Ryan was planning something at the wedding, something that would destroy you and Emily both. I stared at her, my mind racing. "What do you mean?" She glanced around, lowering her voice. "Ryan was desperate. He owed money to the wrong people. He blamed you for losing Emily, for losing everything. He wanted to humiliate you, but he also wanted to frame you. He thought if he could make you look like a villain, he'd get sympathy and maybe a way out." I felt a chill run down my spine. But why did he collapse? Why the blood? Julia shook her head. "I don't know, but I do know this. Someone else was at that wedding. Someone who hated Ryan even more than you did." She handed me a flash drive. "This has security footage from the venue. Watch it. You'll see what really happened." Before I could ask more, she slipped away into the darkness, leaving me alone with more questions than answers. Back home, I plugged the flash drive into my laptop. The footage showed the head table, the guests, the laughter. I watched as Ryan circled the room, whispering to friends, glaring at me and Emily. Then, just before dinner, a man in a dark suit approached Ryan, handing him a small envelope. Ryan opened it, his face turning pale. He slipped something into his pocket, then poured himself a drink. Moments later, he pulled out my chair, sneered, and then the collapse. I rewound the footage, watching the man in the suit. He moved with purpose, always keeping to the shadows. I didn't recognize him, but something about his posture was familiar. Suddenly, my phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "You're getting close. Stop now, or your family will pay." I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. The threat was real, and it wasn't over. I called Mark, the detective assigned to Ryan's case. I told him about Julia, the footage, the threats. He listened carefully. "Richard, you need to be careful. If what you're saying is true, this goes deeper than a wedding prank. Let me look into this man in the suit." I agreed, but I couldn't sit still. I called Samantha, Ryan's widow. She answered on the first ring, her voice shaky. "I'm scared, Richard. People keep calling, asking questions. Someone followed me home last night." I tried to reassure her. "Stay with friends. Don't answer the door for anyone you don't know. I'll do everything I can." That night, as I was locking up, I saw a car idling across the street. The driver's face was hidden, but I felt his eyes on me. I closed the curtains, my mind racing. Who was after us, and what did they want? The next morning, Mark called. We identified the man in the suit. His name is Victor Lane. He's a fixer, someone who cleans up messes for powerful people. He's been linked to several suspicious incidents, but nothing ever sticks. I felt a surge of dread. Why was he at the wedding? Mark sighed. "That's what we're trying to find out. But Richard, you need to be careful. If Lane is involved, this isn't just about Ryan anymore." I thanked him, my mind spinning. I realized that the only way to protect my family was to bring the truth into the light. That afternoon, Emily called, her voice trembling. "Dad, someone broke into our house. They didn't take anything, but they left a note. Stop digging or you'll regret it." I felt a cold fury settle in my chest. "I won't let them hurt you, Emily. I promise." I spent the next day gathering every scrap of evidence I could find. Julia's flash drive, the threatening messages, the security footage, and the note left at Emily's house. I made copies and sent them to Mark, the detective, and to a lawyer friend I trusted. If anything happened to me, I wanted the truth to survive. Linda watched me, worry etched deep in her face. "Richard, are you sure you want to keep pushing? What if they come after us?" I took her hands. "If we let them scare us, they win. I won't let them destroy our family." That night, I barely slept. Every sound outside made me jump. I checked the locks twice, then 3 times. I kept my phone by my side, waiting for the next threat. At 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. A video message. I opened it, my heart pounding. It was Victor Lane, the fixer. He sat in a dark room, his face half in shadow. "You're a stubborn man, Richard, but you're not as clever as you think. Walk away, or your daughter's wedding will be remembered for more than a fall and a corpse." The screen went black. I called Mark, forwarding him the video. He promised to escalate the case to get more protection for Emily and Michael. "We're close, Richard. Lane's made mistakes before. We just need one more piece." I thought about the footage, about the envelope Ryan received. I remembered the woman in the blue dress, Julia, saying Ryan owed money to the wrong people. I called her, asking if she knew what was in the envelope. She hesitated. It was blackmail material, photos, documents, proof that Ryan was helping Lane launder money. He was supposed to deliver it at the wedding, but he panicked. I felt a surge of anger. So Lane killed him. Julia's voice was tight. "I don't know, but I know Lane doesn't leave loose ends." That morning, Mark called with news. We got a warrant for Lane's house. We found the envelope, Ryan's fingerprints, Lane's prior tones. And a list of names. Yours was on it, Richard. My blood ran cold. What does that mean? Mark's voice was grim. It means Lane was planning to frame you for everything. The fall, the poisoning, even the money laundering. But now we have proof. The police moved fast. Lane was arrested, his network exposed. The story hit the news. Wedding day, poison plot foiled, local father cleared, crime ring busted. The guests who had laughed at my fall now called to apologize, their voices full of shame. Emily and Michael were safe. Samantha, Ryan's widow, was free from his shadow. Julia, the lawyer, agreed to testify, her courage helping to bring Lane and his accomplices to justice. Linda hugged me, tears in her eyes. You did it, Richard. You protected us all. I held her close, the weight of months of fear and humiliation finally lifting. But as the dust settled, I received one last message. You may have won this round, Richard, but there are always more like me. I deleted it, my resolve stronger than ever. Let them come, I whispered. I know who I am now. The weeks after Lane's arrest were a blur of police interviews, news stories, and cautious relief. Emily and Michael moved into a new home, one with better locks and a security system. Samantha started a new job, her laughter lighter, her eyes brighter. Julia, the lawyer, became a friend, her testimony sealing Lane's fate in court. The community's reaction was swift. The same neighbors and relatives who had laughed at my fall now sent cards, casseroles, and apologies. Some even admitted they'd believed the worst about me, and were ashamed. I accepted their words, but I never forgot the feeling of being alone in that crowded room. Linda and I took a trip to the coast, just the two of us. We walked the beach at sunset, the waves washing away the last traces of fear. You never gave up, she said, her hand in mine. You never let them win. I smiled, feeling the truth of it settle in my bones. I did it for you, for Emily, for all of us. Emily and Michael thrived. Samantha found happiness again. Julia opened her own law practice, specializing in helping people escape the shadows of their past. Linda and I grew closer, our bond forged in fire and trust. We traveled, laughed, and cherished every moment. And every year, on the anniversary of Emily's wedding, we gathered as a family, not to remember the fall, but to celebrate the rise.